Hi, I'm Megan Gettinger, and I'm the communications coordinator here at Little Flower. I grew up in a Catholic home. I'm the oldest of 9 children, and very early on in my life, I took on a whole lot of responsibility. I really thought of myself as the second mom in the house. My mom was sick for a lot of my childhood, and my dad worked a lot, and so I quite easily slipped into the role of caretaker for my younger siblings. And in the midst of the craziness, as you can imagine, that comes from living in a house with 11 people, I felt this deep longing to be seen and to be known and to be loved for who I was. I was always a dreamer. I was a daydreamer as a kid, but all of that kind of took a backseat when I took on all this responsibility. Early on, I formed a lot of unhealthy emotional attachments with friends or with boys in high school. Just again, looking for a place to be seen, to be known, to be fully loved amidst the chaos that was our life growing up. Out of that came some tendencies towards perfectionism and people pleasing. It felt safe to be accepted. But to maintain that safety, I felt that I needed to, I could never be too much, and I could, and I always worried that I was not enough. So trying to constantly balance those two things. That created also a kind of imposter syndrome, a fear that I'd be found out for either being too much or not enough, depending on the relationship or the person I was with. And that all translated into my relationship with God. I struggled a lot with scrupulosity, praying the words and the way that I thought I was supposed to pray. I just wanted desperately to be worthy of love and acceptance and to be safe. And I felt that there was a very regimented way that I had to do that as a Catholic Christian. And that seemed like a safe place. Just follow these, do these things, and then you'll be safe in relationship with others and also in relationship with God. And looking back now, I can see that this all made it really easy for me to find familiarity, I guess, with the cross of Jesus. Not that the cross is ever easy, but again, it became familiar. There was something oddly comforting about the idea of offering hardships up. I think especially as a young person, as a child, you don't have a whole lot of control, and so saying offer it up and the idea of putting those sufferings on the cross with Jesus, it does allow a sense of freedom and a sense of purpose, and there is something beautiful about that. But I can see now that I began to cling to those crosses, to find comfort in their roughness, in the splinters, and in the almost the drudgery of, I heard someone recently describe it as just carrying your cross and walking around in circles. And I just picture myself carrying these crosses, walking around in circles, and the bottom of that cross just creating this divot around as I go through the same patterns of life. Just recently, actually this past Easter, which was a really unique Easter here in 2020, I came across a song by Stephanie Gretzinger called Out of Hiding. And I want to share some of the lines with you because I felt Jesus speaking to me through her words. She sings from the point of view of Christ, and she sings, "I saw it all, still I chose the cross." And in my mind I thought, okay, yeah, I get that, I'm comfortable with that. And then she sings, "You were the one that I was thinking of when I rose from the grave." And that is harder to wrap my mind around, and even harder to wrap my heart around. And I was struck by the fact that made me so uncomfortable as a cradle Catholic, someone who's lived through, this would have been my 30th Triduum. It struck me as something that should not have surprised me, but it did. She goes on to sing, "I tore the veil so you could come close. There's no reason to stand at a distance anymore. You're not far from home. Just keep on running." And I realized that I had been carrying that cross in circles, and that's not the purpose of the cross. And in the words of that song, I felt Jesus inviting me to see the bigger picture, to see the purpose of the cross, not just in salvation history, not just his cross, but my cross. And him telling me that it was okay to let go of those crosses. And it was okay to rest with him in the grave and to come out on the other side on Easter and to share in his resurrection with him. And that was his will for me. And that floored me. It still floors me right now, because it's so glorious and it's like too good to be true, right? But it is true. And it's terrifying in all of its gloriousness that his will for us is to be glorified with him, and that he stands on the other side of the cross and the grave with hands pierced with nails and a side pierced with a spear to tell us that all of our suffering and our crosses are not for nothing, but they unite us to him, and that he holds us in that on the other side. But we have to be willing to let go of those crosses to go with him to the other side. And obviously this is not easy. I can't tell you that everything on this side of that realization is easier, but there's this hope that I don't think I ever dared to dream of before. And in that, he reveals that I don't have to hold him at arm's length. I don't have to prove anything to him. I can be not enough. I can be too much, like this right now. And he's not going anywhere. And what more could I ask for? I don't know. He's reaching out his hand, his nail-pierced hand, to you and to me, and I invite you just to take it and step out in faith, knowing that I'm right here with you and he's right here with you, and I'm terrified and you might be terrified, and that's okay. And we're just gonna take this next step together and let him walk with you and let him show you the glory that he has in store for you.